everybody, we're cooking at camp again today. Today we're going to make an apple pie. I always like to use a variety of 3 in my apple pie. So here we have Gala apples, Honeycrisp, and it looks like this might be, I don't know, maybe Macintosh. That's one of my favorites to put in apple pie. We need 10 apples for 1 pie. So I start by peeling my apples. I do it the old-fashioned way. You can use one of those apple peeler slicer cores, but I like the inconsistent shape of different apples instead of like the exactly consistent shape that you get using those machines. Okay, now we're moving on to the pie crust phase of making our apple pie. I've put in 1 cup of Crisco shortening. I always use the Crisco brand name. And 2 cups and 2/3, so 2 2/3 cup all-purpose flour. You do need to level exactly and use exact measurements. Level teaspoon of salt. Now I'm going to take my blender and I'm going to blend the Crisco into the salt and flour. I'd say that's about right. Okay, now I'm going to kind of gather my dough into the center of my bowl, and I get 7 to 8 tablespoons of water, cold water. So I'm just going to sprinkle it on the edge like that. 1. I'll do the next layer. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. Okay, we'll start with 7 and we'll have 1 more if we need it. So then I kind of gather all this in. You can see it's starting to form a dough. See, I pulled the dough into a dough-shaped log. I'm going to cut it in half because this is a 2-crust pie and I need the top crust and the bottom crust. You can see here that I have damped the counter surface, and I'm going to roll it out on plastic wrap. So you take flour your surface. You can be really generous with the flour, and that will keep the dough from sticking too much. Take my dough, make it into a round ball on my floured surface. I'm going to press it and gather in my edges to make it smooth, round, smooth. Get some more flour. Flour my dough surface. Flour my rolling pin. Start from the center and push out towards the edges. Just a little bit at a time. Don't try to do too much flattening at once. It kind of falls apart, and that actually is a good thing. The harder it is to keep it together, that means the flakier your crust is going to be. which is the ultimate measure of a good pie crust. Flaky. So my crust is nice and flat. And lay and kind of measure where I want it to end up in the center of my pie pan. The nice thing about the plastic, I can slip my hand underneath here, center my pie plate, and flip it. Look at that. Press it down into my pan and lift the plastic. Ta-da! Now I am not going to cut my edges yet because I need to fill it first. So we're going to set this aside. Okay, so now we're going to prepare our apples. You can see that I have peeled them and sliced them. They're all different sizes, which is what I think makes a good pie. Then we're going to add 3/4 of a cup of sugar, 1/4 of a cup of flour, and 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. Level that out. Mix it all up. Do the apples evenly. So next we're going to pour the apples into the pie crust and pack them in pretty tight and mound it up pretty high. I love the look of really high mounded pie. So next we're going to put on butter pats. I usually put about 5. And now it's time for a top crust. So I'm going to slip my hand under here again. Lay it right over the top. And remove my plastic. There. So the next step is the finger pinching. So I use these 2 fingers to pinch and I lift with my other fingers underneath. It's a traditional apple pie pinching method. Pinch together and lift from underneath. Pinching the top crust together with the bottom crust. Sometimes it doesn't seem like it's going to go all together, but once you get your way around the pie, it starts to come together just fine. A lot of building crust is by feel, so practice some patience. Keep working around my pie, pinching, lifting the doughs together and pinching. I can go around the second time, add a little dough from underneath to make it seal. Make sure it's good and sealed. And then I can lift my pie and trim my edge. Perfect. So then I can go back and fix up some of my trouble spots. Make sure everything's really tightly sealed. So next we're going to flour our fork. Make the traditional apple pie symbol. This also serves as a vent for the apple pie. The star symbol for that. I like to wipe the top of my crust with an egg white. It gives it a nice golden brown look. Just brush egg white all over the top of the crust. Last thing before I put it in the oven is I'm going to put tin foil around the edge of the crust to keep it from getting too brown. I take the tin foil off during the last 15 minutes of baking time. The pie bakes for 40 to 50 minutes at 425 degrees. I already had preheated my oven to 425, so it's ready to go. And I can put my pie in.